Hello everyone. Today we are doing lesson 44. God is the light in which I see. And there will be no text today. Today is a weekend, so let's begin. Lesson 44. God is the light in which I see. Today we are continuing the idea for yesterday, adding another dimension to it. You cannot see in darkness, and you cannot make light. You can make darkness and then think you see in it, but light reflects life and is therefore an aspect of creation. Creation and darkness cannot coexist, but light and life must go together, being but different aspects of creation. In order to see, you must recognize that light is within, not without. You do not see outside yourself, nor is the equipment for seeing outside you. An essential part of this equipment is the light that makes seeing possible. It is with you always, making vision possible in every circumstance. Okay, folks, what this is talking about is just as it was talking about yesterday, of accepting Holy Spirit's truth, His vision, His hearing, His perception on everything that you think, you see, you hear, you experience. And when you hand these things over to Him and ask Him for the correction of what you think it is you're seeing, hearing, and experiencing or perceiving, He will show you the truth. That everything that you are perceiving is based off of something you've been taught to believe. And that everything is based on a very dark fear. It is this fear that we have based our entire lives off of. And this fear is learned. It is handed over to us. Parent to child, parent to child, parent to child. Peer to peer, peer to peer. Teacher to student. Society to individual. And it's only when we go within and look at everything that we are thinking and believing to be true that we can ask for correction. That everything that we see that is mired in this darkness, when we are willing to shed the light on it, Holy Spirit's light of truth, and see it with His eyes, with His vision, we are able to let it go in lieu of the truth. That darkness, and let the light shine through on everything that we have been thinking and believing to be true. Continuing on. Oh, one other thing. That last sentence. It is with you always, making vision possible in every circumstance. Anytime we go within and ask, Holy Spirit, what is it that I am perceiving here? What is it that I'm hearing and seeing? What is the truth? He will always show it to me. So it matters not the circumstance. Circumstances do not matter. Only my state of being matters. How I am within is what matters. What my thoughts are, what my emotions are, what my physical feelings are, those are what matter. What's happening out there doesn't matter. So it matters not what's happening out there. If I am perceiving anything that's giving me any kind of conflict, I have to go within and ask Holy Spirit, what is it I'm thinking up here? What is it that I think I'm seeing and hearing? And He will give me the truth. But I got to ask first. Continuing on. Today we are going to attempt to reach that light. For this purpose, we will use a form of exercise which has been suggested before and which we will utilize increasingly. It is a particularly difficult form for the undisciplined mind and presents a major goal of mind training. It requires precisely what the untrained mind lacks. Yet this training must be accomplished if you are to see. Have at least 3 practice periods today, each lasting 3 to 5 minutes. A longer time is highly recommended, but only if you find the time slipping by with little or no sense of strain. The form of practice we will use today is the most natural and easy one in the world for the trained mind, just as it seems to be the most unnatural and difficult for the untrained mind. Your mind is no longer wholly untrained. You are quite ready to learn the form of exercise we will use today, but you may find that you will encounter strong resistance. The reason is very simple. While you practice in this way, you leave behind everything that you now believe, and all the thoughts that you have made up. Properly speaking, this is the release from hell. Yet perceived through the ego's eyes, it is a loss of identity and a descent into hell. Okay, so what that's talking about, folks, excuse me, my nose is itchy. I had a kitty wanting to rub up on my face a little bit ago, and I keep itching my nose because of it. What this is talking about, folks, is that these lessons have been teaching you how to first look without you and recognize the judgments, the opinions that have been placed on everything around you. Then it's had you looking within your mind to see places, to see people, to see things that aren't here with you in this instant. And to recognize there's no difference between the two. For the ones that are in your mind are just as real as the ones that are outside of you here and now. And that it is these things that we are believing in and placing labels on and having judgments and opinions of, that He is teaching us to recognize and let go of. And the more we are looking within and without and seeing the truth of all of these things, the easier it gets for us to recognize how truly alike they are, even though we have judged them to be different. And the more we do these lessons, the more we do the work, the easier it becomes to look at these things and see them for what they are and move on from them. But it's only in doing the work that we are able to do so. And this is the hell that we have created for ourselves. Everything we think we see and perceive and experience and believe is our living hell. It's all based off of the things we've been taught. The judgments and opinions we have been taught that are truth, and they are not. They have been lies that we've been taught to believe. Continuing on. If you can stand aside from the ego by ever so little, you will have no difficulty in recognizing that its opposition and its fears are meaningless. You might find it helpful to remind yourself from time to time that to reach light is to escape from darkness. Whatever you may believe to the contrary, God is the light in which you see. You are attempting to reach Him. So once again, folks, it's saying here that if you are willing even the slightest bit to step aside and let go of your egoic belief in that singular moment and go within and ask Holy Spirit for the correction, you will be allowing yourself to start making the steps to healing. But you've got to make that choice yourself. And recognize that the only way to see is with God's truth, God's light. That's the only way we ever want to see. Because everything else is painful in the extreme. Continuing on. Begin the practice period by repeating today's idea with your eyes open and close them slowly, repeating the idea several times more. Then try to sink into your mind, letting go every kind of interference and intrusion by quietly sinking past them. Your mind cannot be stopped in this unless you choose to stop it. It is merely taking its natural course. Try to observe your passing thoughts without involvement and slip quietly by them. So what it's talking about there, folks, is, and this is the analogy that Holy Spirit gave me, the exercise that He gave me to do, is to picture myself sitting on a riverbank, right at the edge of the water with my toes just barely dipping in. And as I look upstream, I can see all my thoughts, all the garbage in my mind coming at me. And as all these thoughts come at me, I am just letting them flow past. And as I see them, I say, okay, I see I see what you are. I recognize them. I call them out by name. And I let them float on by as I just let the others come by and just continue floating on by, going downriver and around that bend. And as I look at them and see them and let them float on past, asking Holy Spirit in those moments for the correction to what it is I think I'm seeing there. In that way, He has let me be able to visualize those items coming at me, sitting there in front of me and going past and going on and out of sight to be gone forever. And honestly, the euphemism He gave me for that is, hey, that shit's flowing downstream, and unless it's a really good swimmer, it ain't coming back. So once I let it go, it shouldn't be coming back unless there's some part or portion I held on to. And if it's coming back, that means there's some part or portion I held on to unknowingly. Something deeper, connected to something else that I never recognized in the first place. And in those ways, He has shown me everything I have been taught to believe. That as I let go of one thing, another pops up in its place. And another, and another. And as these things come up, I just let them float on by. And in these first exercises, He has us just looking at them and letting them slide by. So we recognize that, okay, this may be something I'll need to look at. And just let it go. And just sink deeper and deeper in. It's a form of meditation, folks. He's teaching us how to meditate, to go within ourselves, to seek out these things within us and allow them to come to the surface, into the light, to be healed. You know, I've used this analogy before of our mind being a labyrinth, and each step we take is a thought. a belief. And as we take each step into the labyrinth of our own mind, into that maze, we take each step with Holy Spirit, with Him shining His light of truth on everything, in all the little dark nooks and crevices and crannies, to pull out every single little thing for us to look at and to see the truth of what it is that we had hidden there. And as we go deeper and deeper into our own minds in this way, we are able to heal ourselves, and we are able to make our way back eventually to the center of our truth, to our true being at the center of ourselves, to where Holy Spirit has been residing all along, waiting for us with open arms. Continuing on. While no particular approach is advocated for this form of exercise, what is needful is a sense of the importance of what you are doing. It is inestimable. Okay. What is needful is a sense of the importance of what you are doing. It's inestimable value to you, and an awareness that you are attempting something very holy. Man, that's a tough word, folks. Salvation is your happiest accomplishment. It is also the only one that has any meaning, because it is the only one that has any real use to you at all. Now, folks, I have always had issues with the word forgiveness, atonement, and even salvation. You see, growing up, I was taught that I needed to forgive the people that raped me, molested me, beat on me, picked on me, stole things from me, abused me, because I was the one that was wrong, that I needed to forgive them for what I thought they did. And at that time, as a kid, I didn't get it. As an adult, I get it more. That everything is what I thought and what I was told was the truth was a lie. But back then, as a child, to be told that I had to forgive someone for hurting me when they weren't sorry for it, that was difficult. Why am I supposed to forgive somebody that's been hurting me and continues to hurt me? What use is it for me to forgive them for it if they keep doing it? And those were the types of things that, as a child, I had going through my head. And it was the same with the atonement. The idea of atonement, that I needed to atone for the sins of what someone else did to me. That I was the wrong that was guilty and wrong for it. That I was the one that should feel the shame in the purgatory for somebody else touching me. And I couldn't understand that as a child. And I have had to sit down and have a conversation with Holy Spirit about both of these things. And He understood my misgivings. And He didn't give me the recriminations that I got as a child and as an adult from my peers and my family. Instead, He broke it down for me by showing me the truth of what I was doing, of what I was believing, and that it's not forgiveness I need to do, it's for me to recognize the truth, that everything I was believing in was a lie, that nothing really happened as they were saying it happened. That it wasn't these horrendous things that have ruined me for life, that define me as a human being. They were just simply things that happened, experiences. And they weren't necessarily traumatic until after the fact, when my family and their friends and the doctors and the lawyers and the judges and the police officers got involved. Then it became traumatic. Because it was them telling me how wrong everything was, how bad and horrendous it was, and how ashamed and guilty and fearful I should be from it. And as a child, I believed them. They were the adults. They were supposed to know better. They were the ones that caused me trauma, not the act of rape, not the act of molestation in and of itself. Because until they told me what it was, I had no understanding. The same thing as until they tell you something's wrong, you have no understanding of it being wrong. Everything is right and good until that moment, until someone says, that's wrong, that's bad. Think about that for a moment. As a child, everything was honky-dory, glory and wonderful. And you had no comprehension of anything being good, bad, right, or wrong. Everything was just wonderful for you. Until suddenly, you got yelled at and told, that's wrong, that's bad, don't do that. And then you suddenly feel fear, shame, guilt. What did I do? What did I do that was wrong? You had no understanding of it. But they were telling you something was wrong, even though you had no understanding. And you believed them. Why? Because they were the parent. And they were simply working off of something that they had been taught to believe was true. All right, let's move along. If resistance rises in any form, pause long enough to repeat today's idea, keeping your eyes closed unless you are aware of fear. In that case, you will probably find it more reassuring to open your eyes briefly. Try, however, to return to the exercises with eyes closed as soon as possible. If you are doing the exercises correctly, you should experience some sense of relaxation and even a feeling that you are approaching, if not actually entering, into light. Try to think of light, formless and without limit, as you pass by the thoughts of this world. And do not forget that they cannot hold you to the world unless you give them the power to do so. Throughout the day, repeat the idea often, with eyes open or closed, as seems better to you at the time. But do not forget, above all, be determined not to forget today. All right, folks, that was lesson 44. God is the light in which I see. Do the work, folks. Look at your core beliefs. Look at everything He sets before you. Do not pick and choose. Do not look at something and think, oh, I've already looked at this. I don't need to look at this again. If it's coming up before you, there is something you need to look at. Anytime He brings it up before you, there is something for you to look at. There is usually a deeper and more hidden meaning underneath it all. Believe me, He has taken me back many, many times to each and every one of my experiences as a very young child, even an infant, to see the truth of the things that I was experiencing there, and to see the different layers of understanding that was needed there. It's like the onion. When you peel out that outer layer, you got a lot of other layers underneath before you get to that core. And it's like peeling back the layers of an onion, folks. It'll make you cry. And it'll make you weep. And it feels painful at the time, and it burns, and it hurts. But once you get to that center, the tears are gone. And in its place is nothing but loving light. And it's the truth of who and what you are. As you make your way through all of this, doing the work, looking at these things He lays before you, you will see the truth of what it is you've been doing to yourself all along. But you have to be willing to do the work. Even the tiniest bit of willingness is needed. All right, once again, this was lesson 44, God is the light in which I see. Thank you for joining me today. My name's Sabrina Reyenga. Hugs, love, and light. Namaste.